Hello everyone, welcome to this quick video on making sense about the GitHub Copilot related to the development and deployment testing. I'm here, Abdul Rasheed Feroz. I'm a Microsoft MVP on Azure, and I'll be here discussing about the GitHub Copilot, which can be used over the Visual Studio Code to do the development and to carry with the deployment testing. Here is said to be a short agenda. So during this talk, we will look at how the GitHub Copilot and Microsoft has been leading the advancement of AI for the developers using the GitHub Copilot and the efficiency that these advancements are having for the developers. So followed by these development and deployment, testing, all these discussions, we will go with a demo to see how the GitHub Copilot can be used. Let's get started. Here we go with starting about how is data in GitHub Copilot is used and shared. The GitHub Copilot is like it's going to be like a user engagement data. It has prompts and suggestions that are used by GitHub, right? You try it's going to collect the data and it's going to be managed by Microsoft to improve the GitHub Copilot and the related services and to connect the product and academic research. You get a enhancing GitHub Copilot. So the data when you use the GitHub Copilot in development, the data is collected, it's utilized to improve the GitHub Copilot by evaluating different strategies for processing and predicting the suggestions that the users may find valuable. The GitHub Copilot is still used with the developer products and the services. So developing related developer products and services is all like the insights that's gained from the data helps in the development and improvement of other developer tools and services that's offered by GitHub and Microsoft. Thirdly, you have detecting abuse and policy violations. The data is examined to investigate and identify any potential misuse or violation of the acceptable usage policies that's connected with GitHub Copilot. You also have like improving the code generation models, so connecting the experiments and research. The data is used for connecting experiments and research that's related to the developers and their utilization of the developer tools and the services. So this aims at gaining valuable insights into the user behavior and the preferences. We still have like we can evaluate the GitHub Copilot, we can improve the code generation models as well. So the collected data is employed to refine and enhance the underlying models that's responsible for generating the code. So this is all achieved by utilizing both positive and negative examples, both by GitHub and by Microsoft. Here is said to be the developer's productivity on code snippets. The developer productivity on code snippets is to ensure the protection of sensitive data such as your user edit actions, source code snippets, and the repo's URL or the file paths, and several protective measures that are implemented. So these measures include encryption of transmitted data. It's like all data is encrypted both during the transit and while at rest. So that ensures that it remains secure and inaccessible to unauthorized parties. It then has strict access control. You can access the data that's tightly regulated and limited to specific individuals, including the named GitHub personnel working on the GitHub Copilot team or the GitHub Platform Health team. Microsoft personnel is involved with the GitHub Copilot team. And finally, we do have this RBAC or MFA, that's your uh, role-based access controls and multi-factor authentication. People who require access to code snippet or the data must go with adhering to role-based access controls. And additionally, multi-factor authentication is implemented to add an extra layer of security. So this ensures that only authorized individuals can access the data. We then have the key steps for the deployment and the development. So let's go with the development first, and then I will speak about the deployment and testing. The very first step is that the project concept and the scope. It begins by identifying the purpose and scope of your project. It defines its goals, objectives, and the problem that it intends to solve. We then have the GitHub repository set up. So it creates a new GitHub repo to host your Copilot project. We choose an appropriate repo name, the repository name, and the description that reflects the project's purpose too. We then have the development environment set up. So we set up your development environment, including uh, selecting a programming language, framework, and IDE, that's your integrated development environment. And nextly, we have the GitHub Copilot integration. So we can install the GitHub Copilot extension for your code editor, which is currently available for Visual Studio Code. We can connect your GitHub account to the Copilot to enable the AI assisted coding here. And then comes coding with Copilot. So that's like, you start writing the code with the Copilot's assistance, and you can improve the comments, and Copilot will generate the code snippets, auto completions, and suggestions based on the context. Finally, we have the code validation and, the customization. We can review and validate the code that's generated by Copilot to ensure it aligns with your project's requirement. It gives you the coding standard and the best practices as well, and it also customizes the generated code as needed to meet the specific project needs. The next comes deployment and testing. So here we go with the deployment testing overview. The deployment testing is the safety net that ensures your software is not just functionable, but it's reliable, performant, and secure in the live environment. It's the last step, I would say, in the development process, but its impact on user satisfaction and the overall success of your software is said to be immense. The deployment testing is like the final check before a big presentation. It ensures everything is in place and ready to shine. So I have just quoted like few reasons. It's like the importance of the deployment testing to do a deployment to get the feedbacks and the key objectives as well. Like you go with a smooth transition. Imagine you're launching a new software version only to find out its crashes on the user devices. So this deployment testing catches these issues beforehand, ensuring a smooth transition for the users. We do get like user experience. So users don't care about the backend entry, any kind of interfaces. They just want a seamless experience. And the deployment testing helps in identifying and fixing any issues that might affect the user interface or the overall experience. We then have the performance assurance. So it's not just about functionality. The deployment testing also assesses how well your system performs under various conditions. This includes checking for response times, resource usage, and handling the concurrent users. We then have the data integrity. So when you're updating or migrating the systems, ensuring data integrity is said to be crucial. The deployment testing verifies that data is accurately migrated and that there are no losses or corruption during the process. We do have the compatibility checks. So with all the devices and the platforms available, it's essential for you to ensure your software works across the different environments in a correct way. So on top of all these things, we do have like CA and CD. We can go with the deployment testing to be carried up with all the testing features, ensuring that your system meets the standards, preventing legal issues, and ensuring a trustworthy product, which will be related to the rollback, the different versions that the commitment has been done, by the developers testing the code again, validating it, and the validation still goes beyond up to the regulatory compliance. The next comes your deployment strategies. GitHub Copilot can be a helpful tool during the deployment process, especially in scenarios where you need to generate the code quality or write the configuration files as well. So here is said to be a few ways the Copilot can assist in development. You know, you can choose the right deployment approach. You can put up the configuration files. The Copilot can help generating the configuration files for various deployment tools such as Docker files, Kubernetes manifest, or the configuration files for the cloud services. We then have the deployment scripts. So if you have custom deployment scripts, you can use Copilot to generate the parts of the script, making it faster to create the scripts for deploying your application. The Copilot's role in deployment still goes up to the infrastructure as a code. The Copilot can assist in generating the code for defining your infrastructure using infrastructure as a code tools like Terraform or AWS CloudFormation. We then need to put up the environment setup, right? The Copilot can help in that as well with setting up the environment variables or generating the code snippets related to the environment configuration. Here is set to be a few samples where you can make sense, like you can put a commentary once when the Copilot extension is installed. So this is for testing. You can test the function of adding two numbers correctly, and you get the Python code snippet for the same. You could still add a commentary saying that you need to test with two positive numbers over here. We'll be exploring all these things working with the Visual Studio Code, and we will also see how you can get your GitHub Copilot extension to be enabled in the pricing as well over the demo. Here is set to be the demo. The demo will be a quick tour with development and deploying on GitHub Copilot over the Visual Studio Code. So the rest, we're going to spend time to make sense about how the development and the deployment can be done over Visual Studio Code using the GitHub Copilot. I will now start with a GitHub Copilot. So let's go with a browser and we shall try signing in for, the GitHub Copilot here. See, basically, if you don't have a license, I would say the key concept is that we need to have a GitHub Copilot license, and we should also have the extension to be called up to make it simple. We go with Visual Studio Code, or we can go with different IDs, let's say Visual Studio All, and have the extension to be up. Here in this demo, here in this quick tour, we're going to use Visual Studio Code, and we'll be having the extension to be installed as well. Let's go to the pricing here. In case if you don't have a subscription, you can go to the pricing. You can check for GitHub Copilot. You could see there are like two different pricing plans that are set to be available. We have Copilot for individuals, and we do have for the enterprise. We can try subscribing for Copilot Business. However, you also need to make sense. We have the GitHub Copilot that's set to be available with a free trial. You can use it for the very first 30 days of time. And later, the 30 days, you can go with a paid subscription thing. So this is set to be a quick site which speaks about the features and the add-ons that we have here. I will now try signing in with my GitHub account. So let's say github.com and sign in here. Let's go up with my user account, the password. We get signed in here, and I can click on my user profile. You can find Copilot. So this lets me know if I have a Copilot license or not. And I hope you could see that this can support with different IDs like Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio or anything. When you click on Visual Studio Code, you just get like, a quick prerequisite which speaks about what you need to do before you get started with the development. So we have it already up. we need to go for, the Visual Studio Code here. And here in the Visual Studio Code, we need to make sense that we have the extensions installed. So you could see here the extension. In case if you're new to it, you have to go for the extensions. You need to look for, GitHub Copilot. You could find the extension listed up. So it makes sense you need to keep it installed. So you also have the latest like release, which is set to be with the Copilot voice. So if you can just try giving up, the speech. We are trying to work with all ways that we can integrate, the OpenAI, the Azure Cognitive Service with the Copilot here. We have the Copilot chat on which you can ask questions, you can interact, you try getting the intelligence, right, with the support over here. We then have the experimental features, which are said to be with the GitHub Labs, okay, the Copilot Labs, which gives you, a POC kind of stuff where you can try it before you move on to the prod environment. Let's go. We have the extension ready. This is fine. We do have the chatbot that you can find here. And you can always go up. You can also say we can turn off the GitHub Copilot feature by clicking on this icon that you find down here. When you click on this, you get like deactivate the GitHub Copilot. So you say disable globally, and whatever the code it's going to be, whatever the pages that you create, the solution files that you have, it's going to be disabled. It does not give you a guidance. It's going to be your responsibility that you go ahead, you try, uh, working with the code snippets there. And this color illustrates, I would say this color that you find here, the dark in color over the background, which does not have a resemblance to the background. This says that the GitHub Copilot is set to be deactivated. You could say you click on it, you say enable globally, and you see there's a transparency. You don't have like any different colors of icons. So this indicates that you have the GitHub Copilot now, which is set to be enabled. Let me go with a simple code. I will try developing a simple application. So we'll create a new file. Let's say a new file to be created, or we will go with a new folder first. Okay, so I will say open folder. Let me put on the location. Uh, yes, give me a second. So I will go here and let's create a new folder. I'll say GitHub Copilot, which is set to be with dev. Let me keep this opened up and say select folder. And there I will trust the repo. Now let's say I'll try creating a new file which is set to be index.html. I repeat, it's gonna be, index.html. Now please make sense. I will open up HTML and I get it closed up here. Okay, this works. You see here, the Copilot works here. And when you click on the tab, you're gonna get the code which has been given with the intelligence, right? You say like head, the title, the home, and the link reference which has been passed up here. You see the title is set to be home, and followed by that, you can wait. It says that we need to close the head body. I could still go ahead. I can say I will add, paragraph. Okay, and thereon we can try adding up text. So it says you can try calling up the reference like home, about, contact. Okay, so all these things can be added over here. And at top of that, we can still go if you want to check with some text or something, you can say you keep it added up over here. So we can simply test this. You can save, right? You can save this and I will minimize it. Let's go to the location that we have. It's set to be on let me open it up. Here you go. It's set to be on the JSON we created with dev. You could find it here. So let me open this page. So we get it like this: home, about, and contact. Right? We haven't passed the any meaningful pages, but then we still get it like this. So I will go ahead over the HTML file, and I will also try passing, over here, saying that it's like we have the environment to pass heading two. Okay, and let's say this is a sample demo for GitHub Copilot, right? I would say GitHub Copilot with dev and deployment. So let's get this added. Now we can save this, and I will go back to the browser now. Yeah, let's go back to the browser and we'll try opening up the page. Yes, can you find this? So we have a simple application which has been developed. I can also try writing the test cases for the same. I can simply say, go back to the Visual Studio Code, open up the chat, right? Let's say, write a test case for, see, I'm giving the intent as for this code. This code in the sense we have the terminal, we have the code ready. Let's say, write it across and we can look for what it says. I'm sorry, but the code you provided is not testable as it's just HTML and does not contain any logic or functionality. So the test cases are typically written for the code that contains some sort of logic or functionality. I hope you're getting it now. This does not need any kind of testing at all. It's like, a simple kind of code that we try adding it up. So there's nothing like a test case needed. We can also go, we would say a new file, let's say file, a new file to be created over the same location. Okay, so let's go with dev and say a new file to be added up. Uh, the file type, or let's give up a name. I'll say AI.html, for example. Okay, yes, it's set to be here. Let's say AI.html. And here I can say write a program to do client, or it gives you intelligence, no? Write a program that extracts from given text all sentence containing the given word. So it says example, the word is in, and see, it tries adding the text. So the expected result will be like this. We are living in a yellow submarine like that. You could also still go, you can try adding up a question, right? Uh, what is the difference between the two, or what is, let's say, solid? Okay, we can try adding question like this. And it says solid, it's asking, or you're looking for a single repository principle. And it also asks like, you can ask some related questions for the same. Now I can go, I'll say answer, right? It says software entities. I hope you're getting it. It briefs us about the same. So there's said to be a classification, right? The next question, there's an intelligence that it says like, you could still go, you can think about the Liskov substitution principle, right? It can work with what is Liskov substitution principle, and let me say the answer. Then the intelligence works based on the same. Either you do it over here, or you can even try, over the chat panel. Then I can still say write a sample code to, or let's say write a simple code, the program that prints your name using the language of choice. So we can write this, and thereon it can, go with, trying to answer the same. So you say answer, it can then say print your name in the using the print function like that. So it gives an intelligence. You could still go. You had been already seeing like you had index.html. It gave you a, I can repeat it. I can say HTML and see it gives you intelligence there. See, it gives this particular intelligence there. So this is all set to be a quick scenario of example on which you can do the development and deployment. You can always try, doing some test codes as well. Let's say if I have some code opened up, I will try opening it up. Give me a minute. I will try opening some solution files. So let's say open folder. Uh, let's check if we have something here. Yes, I have some application which is set to be eShop on web.shed. Let's say save it, and we get it opened up here. Trust the repository. Okay, we have the project which is set to be here. Now for this, it's set to be a .NET 6 project. We can go, I will again say write a test case for this code. See, it then says the intelligence there. So we need to know what functionality this project provides. And since this is said to be the project file, it does not contain any functionality. This use case, I would say that this test case is where it's going to check if the project can execute successfully, right? It checks for the actions, it checks for the assets that you have. So, in let's say you're going to write some code snippets, which is said to be with a client and server snippet of programming, or you have some AI code part, right? In those cases, we can try writing the test cases, and this can be added up, over a new file. You can say insert this into a new file, and you get it like this thing. Well, so this is simply for the demo purpose. Now let's go ahead. We will try making sense about the deployment. I will close all these steps that we have here. Let's say file, open folder again, and we'll go to the index page, which we had. So let's say select folder, and there you can find index.html. Again, right click here. I would say, let me go with a terminal. Right, let's say uh, terminal here. Yeah, new terminal. And we can try logging in to the Azure portal then. So simply say easy login. It says it will open up a browser for us. And there we need to authenticate. You see here, I have a browser opened up. Let me try signing in with my Azure account. We have logged in here. Let's wait for a second. It checks there. Yeah, there we go. So we have like multiple accounts which are said to be available. And we could again like still go up here and say I need to create a new web app. So the command, we can try executing it. I'm just giving for your glimpse, you can understand here. Let's say easy web app to create an account, to create an Azure account here with app service. So say easy, right? Uh, Group create first. So easy group, okay, you can say create. It will give you the command list there. So it gives you a help. Can you find this? So it says AZ group create. You need to pass the data center location. You need to give up the resource group name. So I can simply say AZ group create. Okay, which is set to be with the location. Let's say again West US itself, and the resource group. Yeah, I would say resource group. Okay, the name to be passed. So that will be CDS, or let's say Copilot. Uh, Microsoft Resource Group. Let's wait for this. You should be finding a JSON representation. Yeah, here you could see we have a JSON representation that says that you have a resource group created with the data center location that's set to be here. We can still go up. We can say easy web app create, right? If you're not good with the commands, you can just pass the help. I consider you people are set to be some basic, right? You have some basic understanding, or you're going to be at a level 100. So you can just say easy web app create. You can pass help, or you can simply give enter. It will give you the commands like what you exactly you need to pass as such. So it says that you need to create an app service plan, or you can call the deployment container as well over here. I can say to create a web app with the default configurations, let's say easy web app create. I repeat, it's easy web app create with, the resource group, right? Let's say the resource group to be passed. And it's going to be, the resource group which we created earlier. That's Copilot, Microsoft resource group, and the plan there. So let me pass a plan. I'll say Microsoft apps plan. Okay, that's an app service plan. a name of the web app. Okay, let's say Microsoft Copilot, okay, 23. That's set to be the name of the web app. So we are creating a web app over here with all, mentioning the parameters. The app already, the app does not exist. So you need to create a new plan. Okay, we have to mention that we'll be creating a new plan. I will show this on the UI. Let's go here. Uh, yes. So let's open, a new tab. Go for portal.azure.com. And thereon, we need to sign in. So I'll consider this particular account and let's give the MFA to be approved, the multi-factor authentication. I'm approving it from my mobile. Yes. So we get signed in here. And there at top of it, we will be trying to create a web app. You could see here we have the app service, so let's subscription. We can think about the resource group. Let me check. See, Copilot Microsoft resource group which has been created. Let's try creating a new web app here. So say create, and you can look for web app. Okay, so let's say web app here, and here is where we will say create, and we can pass, the web app name to be available here. I would say the name of the web app will be Microsoft Copilot. Okay, let's say 23. That's set to be the web app name. So the complete web app name will be Microsoft Copilot 23.azurewebsites.net. And here it should be the unique name. It checks for the availability over here. Okay. The app name Microsoft is not available. It's like, it represents with MSFT. So we are not supposed to give up this name. Okay. I'm sorry about that. Let's try with a different name. For example, GUI. Okay. Copilot. And let me say 23. I hope this should be available. Yes. So that's there. And we can publish this as a code. You can pick the runtime stack here. Let's say I will go with .NET 8 and with Windows, okay, with the data center region. Let's again say I will go with the WestUS for the deployment. And we pick up the app service plan here. So all these things can be done from the terminal as well, from your Visual Studio Code as well. The only prerequisite again that you need is that you have to make sure you have Azure CLI installed on your machine that you're working on. So this is set to be with the Windows App Service plan, and we have like different, the pricing plans that are set to be available. It starts from free, it goes with basic, standard, isolated, right? So it's up to you. You go with premium, isolated, all that's set to be here. There's set to be a difference based on the compute powers. There's set to be a difference that's set to be, over the memory all that's available. Let's go with the standard plan. S1 standard. I will say select and deployment. I repeat, if you have your deployment to be done from GitHub, you can say enable and you can authorize. You could say that you will sign in with your GitHub account so it can take control over the repositories. You can say authorize. You can pick the repo here and try deploying it. Or if not, you can even simply go, you can say disable and we can try deploying the same. So let's say go to the networking then. This is about, the security over the networking, the network access, the public access, and the injection that we do. Monitoring is where you take the logs. You want to say if there's said to be a trouble or if there's said to be a problem encountered with your application, then it can heal up automatically. So that's said to be with application insights. It collects the logs, on its own, and it can then go with a heal up. Tag is for metadata reference. And finally, we can review and create this web app now. I'll click on create to get this web app to be up. And we shall wait for the app deployment to be completed. Now we have the app service which has been created. So you can simply say, go to the resource and we can try publishing, the file that we have. I could go, I would say, download the publish profile and we can do it from there. Or we can even do from the Kudu console. So the Kudu is like you copy this, right? You try opening it on a new tab, say password acm dot azure websites dot net, right? You get landed up with a Kudu environment here. It gets logged in. Let's wait for it. The Kudu is like, you can take all the configuration management to be done over the cloud over here. You can speak about the metadata logs. You can think about the configurations which are related to the app service there. The Kudu services is getting loaded. Yeah. Now you can go to the debug console. You can say that you will land up with a PowerShell. We get a diagnostic console over here. So you want to check the logs or something, you can try going up here and we can check for the same. So here is said to be about the kudu that's available. And I can, at top of this, I can go to the site, I can go to the root, and we'll say that I need to upload, a new file. A default template is set to be there. That's set to be hosting stat. So if you want to find that, you can go to the configuration and you could see the default documents that would be available. It's getting loaded yet. Let's wait. Yes. So here is set to be the configuration. See, we can go to the default documents. You can find hosting stat. So this is like a stack. This is like a stack where you have like, the file which has been represented at the top will be the default one that would be available. So in case if you have created a page called default.html, then it gets landed up over here itself, at the top. Uh, since we have hosting stat, the only file which is said to be hosting stat, we find it over here. Okay. And I can now we have the page which is said to be index.html. So just observe what's happening now. We could go up here. We will say, I will create a new file. Okay. And we can try copying whatever we have it there. So let's say index.html. Let's say edit and go back to the Visual Studio Code. Let's copy the content that we have there. Let's copy the complete content, what we have here. I'll paste it. Now let's say save. And let's go to the web page now. So take the overview. Let's try open this over a new tab. See, we have the web app that's set to be published. So this is all like, the simplest form of way where you can go, you can try deploying, I mean, developing with a GitHub, using the Copilot, use the intelligence, use the extensions, and we can try deploying it over the app service. In case, if you don't want to use the Visual Studio Code, or if you don't want to go with the Azure Portal log, you can directly go with a GitHub. Let's say, for example, I have, a repository where I want to show some examples for you. See, I have GitHub Copilot deploy. We can go up here. We have the page with, the code that's to be available. Say I have a static and I can find the index page that's there. We can go to the index.html. And here is set to be the code with space, the code spaces and, the fast API that's set to be on the default part. And followed by that, we have like, few content which has been published over here with a button and try it out all. Now we can try editing this by going up with GitHub code deploy repository. And you can click on the drop down that you find here. You can use the code space. So I will say create a new code space for me. It gets opened with a new tab and will have the container to be spun up. You get the complete space and IDE on which you will be having Copilot as well to be available. So let's wait for this. We will try writing again, asking the GitHub Copilot to write me some test cases for the code which is set to be there. You could find the logs. It has the image found and it's building the container on which you will be having the code space to be up. So here is set to be the logs. This will help you to see what's exactly happening when it builds the code space. Normally, building a code space would take, a max a minute of time. And once when the code space is built, you can try running, you can do build, run, publishing, writing the test cases. So you no need to look for any like single console of application where it has to be installed on your local and you try doing the development there. You no need to do that. And remember, I was also speaking about the role-based access control and the multi-factor authentication. So you can go to the repositories and here in the settings over, the contributors, the collaborators that you see, you can try adding it up over here. You can add the contributors. You can say like what kind of permission you're going to give up for those people there. Sitting back here, the container has been built and it downloads the files. Here we go. The GitHub Copilot deploy. That's the repository name. I hope you could see this. It's just same like what we have over the extension. So it's like your Visual Studio itself, right? You have it over here. And the repo name is GitHub Copilot deploy. You can find the same over here. And the static page that I have been showing you, index, we get landed up there. So if you're doing any kind of changes, you can say save it just on the go over the GitHub repository. You can also set pipelines related to CI and CD, and it can work accordingly over here. And let's go with the chat. We will try, writing the chat panels over here, the chat options over here. Uh, I can use the chat, which is set to be here, and I will say write a test case for the code, or let's say for this code. Okay, the intent that we have. So it's thinking, and it will try writing a test case. It says it cannot see any code request testing. The active selection you provide is an HTML file. So it's simple HTML file. So it says that it does not need any kind of testing to be done. You can also go ahead, let's say open up the repo. Okay, we get landed up with this container. You have the Docker file all. So for those things, you can check the ports. So again, you say write a test case for this code. So this now represents, the code which has been, it's not testable. You're getting it? It's not testable. It's a Python code that you have. You can say write a test case, write a unit test case, for example, or you can say how to write a unit test case. So whatever you have been doing from the local, you can try doing it globally over here as well. So this is set to be with the code snippet that we have. So the code space has the kind of extensions and all kind of, whatever you have been doing in local, you can try exploring it over here as well. So this is all set to be the level 100 of, the basics that you need to know on how we can do the development and deployment over here. So thanks for joining us, and you can refer the GitHub Copilot documentation to learn more about the same. Thank you.